It's the Final Word Daily, Day 10, the World Cup Daily. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon here at Eisenhower Park. The last time for me, another low-scoring thriller. This time it was South Africa and Bangladesh. Jeff, we're here for Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City. Sum it up in 30 seconds.
I will. South Africa being 4 for not much. That seems to be a bit of a theme. 4 for 23 today, 23 for 4. Bangladesh all over them early with the seamers running amok. Tanzim Hassan Shakib 3 for bugger all. And they ended up scraping their way to 113. David Miller is the guy you call like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction, who cleans up the bodies with a little bit of Heinrich Klaassen. And then Bangladesh did a Pakistan yesterday. Should have got it. 50 for 4. A little partnership between Khridoy and Mamadullah of 44, I think they put on. Got them close, and then wickets fell, and they needed 11 off the last over, 6 off the last 2 balls, lost by 4 runs.
2 full tosses
Maharaj,
to finish the game.
I should have said the last over.
Maharaj
got away with them.
2 fullies, last 2 balls
of
the game, and somehow Bangladesh have conspired to lose this one.
They've had some
with themselves.
They got together. They put their heads together and said, "How do we bugger this up?" They channeled Rizwan from yesterday.
With themselves, but also with the laws of the game and the playing conditions as it relates to DRS. I want to start there only because you and I have spoken about this, I don't know how many times.
Too many times.
Really, it's Daniel Norcross who's informed the conversation on the podcast. Right. This is what happens in the 16th over.
Yep.
The Bartman's bowling to Mamadullah.
Bartman.
He's given out leg before wicket. That's fine. No one's done anything wrong here, I want to add before I go any further. This is not umpire fault. This is no one's fault. This is a quirk of how the playing conditions with DRS intersect with the laws of the game. The ball runs away for 4-leg buys, but he's given out on-field leg before. It's overturned on DRS.
Yes, it's heading down. Yeah.
But the ball is dead as soon as the decision is given out.
Right.
Now, Daniel's been saying for years that a World Cup final is going to be decided this way because they don't get the runs. And in this situation, it would have left them probably a runner ball. Instead, it's only 4 runs the difference the other way, right? Yep. It's in a game where it's tight, and the key point here is that when you're in a tight finish and you're having everybody knows who's watching it. The lived experience of watching it is the leg by should count.
Right.
But the only way to get around it, for procedural fairness reasons, is not to give the leg before decision out or not out until the ball is otherwise dead. Yep. There is a solution here. It's not hard. There's no reason why the umpire needs to give that out instantaneously.
Yep.
If we delay the out decision until the runs have been finished being taken one way or the other, then we wouldn't come into this problem.
Yep.
It's an easy fix. It hasn't been landed on yet. It has cost Bangladesh today. Of course, as you always say, Jeff, and you're right in saying that, the game might have gone in a different direction had those 4 runs been credited. Bangladesh might go and lose by more.
Sure.
But the broader point still stands.
It would have left them in a better position.
It would have left them in a better position in a low-scoring game at that particular juncture.
Yeah.
And that could have, and almost certainly, would have changed the energy of the way things were. A boundary instead of a leg before.
Sure.
In any case, that partnership is broken on 44. Another leg before. They do get their chance. Mamadullah, the 4th catch for Aiden Markram, running back on the rope, just tiptoes his way around, so they're a foot away from seeing themselves get to within a run with a ball to go. Instead, he's caught, and then the next ball, the last ball of the game, Tashkin Ahmed somehow, he hits the ball a long way, Tashkin, hits the ball a really long way, gets another fully from Maharaj. He didn't bowl good last over, bowled a wide and 2 fullies, and it goes straight up in the air, and it's game over, and they lose by 4 runs, and they will be absolutely devastated from where they were, having them 23 for 4 and having the race, broadly speaking, under control. The runner ball needed with 5 overs to go.
Yep, and another pulling one out of the fire for South Africa, who's been incredible in doing this. They struggled chasing 78 in game 1. They struggled chasing 104 against the Dutch, and they scraped their way to 113 here today, and they won all 3 of those games.
Yep.
They're through. I think they're the first team to be officially through because everyone else in their group's on 2 points at the moment, so the second spot is very open in that group, but South Africa have cleaned up with 6 points at the moment, and they've been able to do it through the quality of their bowling, I suppose, most of all, and through the way that Nortje has been able to be an enforcer and give away almost no runs, through the way that the Bartman has rocketed into international cricket, having played one warm-up game before this for South Africa. This was his 4th game today, and his figures across those: 1 for 9 off 4 overs, 4 for 11 off 4 overs, and today 9 for 27 off 4, which is big compared to the previous 2, but very, very good in T20 bowling.
And look, they've done it in different ways. So a week ago here, it feels like it's longer than that, but 7 days ago here, when they won their first game against Sri Lanka, that pitch was borderline dangerous, right? Mm-hmm. And the ICC acknowledged as much after the second game between India and Ireland, where it behaved in a similar way with balls that were taking off from the same spot and going up or down, and that wasn't right. So the criticism of the pitch early on was right, but they fell to 15 or 14 for 4 against the Dutch and got the job done. Look at the
12, I think 12. Yeah,
12 for 4. My apologies.
From memory, yeah.
But the first innings scores here. So the scores of the first innings of the game: 77 and 96. They were the 2 shit pitches. But since then, the tackier pitches: 137 for 7. That was Canada when they won over Ireland.
Yep.
103 for 9, which was a losing score. 119 yesterday, a winning score, which was India over Pakistan. You might remember that. And 113 for 6 today. That's been a winning score as well. The tackier pitches, the one across the square, pitch number 2, that's where 4 of the 6 games have been played. That's been a slower pitch, totally, but it's lent itself to pretty exciting cricket. So I know that people who are 10,000 miles away are getting stuck into every pitch here because of what happened on day 1 and day 2, but it has changed because on the same square you have different pitches and they will therefore do different things. And these pitches haven't been IPL pitches. People who get a raging hard on for 220 versus 220, well, this tournament and this ground's probably not for them. But those who like a better competitive balance between bat and ball, and for it to be slightly harder for batters, well, this has been that for them. And there'll be other pitches later in the tournament which will probably be hard and flat, and we'll be back to 200 plays 200. Right. That is okay. That is the nature of cricket.
Sure, but I mean, 220 plays 220 would be a great game, but what we often get is 220 plays 160 because one team's out so much that they have to go out hard in the chase, they fall in a heap, and it becomes an uninteresting game within about 5 overs when you already know which team's heading downwards. So I guess a bit like the Australia-England game the other day, where it was pretty obvious by the halfway mark, once Butler and Salt were done, that England weren't likely to challenge for that 200 target. So you have the low targets on these difficult to score wickets, and it has been interesting, it has been compelling, and it comes right down to that last ball where they can still get it. I mean, it's the second last ball where Mahmudullah goes almost a slog sweep but hits it too straight, so he can't get as much power on it when it goes straighter off that cross bat shot, but it's still just inside the road. I mean, that's a serious pressure catch from Akram, having taken a more straightforward one earlier in the over, but to hang on to that one with 2 balls to go took some serious calm, resolve and blue steel, and that's what Markram was able to do. There's
probably a lesson in when you play to the ground long enough and the pattern that's emerged here. The lesson is you don't let the power play come to you. You don't absorb too much pressure. Now, South Africa, when they were batting, the pressure was a function of wickets. They had 25 dot balls and lost 4 wickets in their power play. And by the way, and we'll talk about the crowd later, it was heaving over on the far side of the ground.
22,000 plus today?
23 and a half, I heard someone say on commentary. That's the second biggest crowd here. More people were here today than for India and Ireland at the start of last week. Right. So it says a little bit about the demand of Bangladeshi fans who've rocked up in their droves today. Not a spare seat in that stand. It was brilliant towards the end of both innings. But if you're batting second, surely you've got to know that just crawling over the line is a bloody hard thing to do here. Mm-hmm. You've got to really try and make the power play work for you when there's 2 fielders inside the circle. You've got to try and have the game done by over 18 or over 19. And if you're going to be critical of Bangladesh today, it is with their top order. Again, I know it's harder than the average pitch to bat on, but Shanto, plenty of experience now. He is the skipper, and he did absorb a lot of dot balls. 14 from 23. Lytton Duss, another player who's been a match winner, can hit the ball a really long way. 9 from 13. On reflection, they left too much work to that partnership for the 5th wicket, which, sure, Mahmudullah, 49 years old, he may as well be. He's been around so long, so much experience. And Hudroy, who we've been loving what he's been doing over the last couple of years, and that straight commanding 60 hit upon arrival did signify a change in attitude, but they lost a wicket just after the power play, so just after the 6 over mark. Mm-hmm. That's not a good time to lose a wicket, right? They had consolidated towards the end of the power play after losing Tanzil Hassan early, and then they lose one just after in the 7th over. They're slowed up yet further. They end up getting it out to 7s or 8s required. They drag it back with that partnership, but they never had a period of play where they scored like 30 runs in 3 overs. Like that's invariably what you need on a pitch like this to make the fielding side feel like they're fucked. A little bit like what Miller did to the Netherlands a few days ago.
Yeah, exactly. And it soon got up to sort of, you need 7 and over, then 8 and over, and that's difficult. As soon as it's above a runner ball on this, it's hard to get because your default scoring option is a single here. You're finding the outfield a lot.
Well, the 4s are hard to come by, as we've reflected a lot, and it was the same today. What's going for 4 on another ground is a 1 or 2 or even indeed a 3 here. Balls just aren't travelling as quickly. That's the real criticism of this ground.
If you can't clear the road, you're not getting bound.
In the outfield, it's too slow, and the boundaries are too deep. I'm not as worried about the pitch now as I was last week when it was violent. It's not violent anymore.
Sure, all right, but we could spray a bit of like silicon across the outfield or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Silicon Valley, get them involved. Get the San Francisco Unicorns on the phone.
Get Pat Cummins involved.
Let's wind back to Tanzim Hassan Saqib. I mean, what an opening spell from this kid, 21 years old. He's played, funnily enough, like a lot of List A cricket and has a great record in domestic 50 over stuff. Has a pretty average record in domestic 20 over stuff and has played a little bit of first class cricket. Played age group 17s and 19s for Bangladesh. So and has only played a handful of international games. So he's an under the radar kind of character. Yep. He's got a real sort of software developer's beard, like maybe a Warhammer 40k enthusiast sort of beard. Like he's painting, I don't know, Space Marine miniatures or like Sea Orcs or whatever the fuck they get up to with the little pots of paint and the trophy cabinets. But he comes in, he takes 3 for in no time at all, and he's cutting the ball off the pitch. He's got the seam wobbling on the way down. He has the one that nips in to trap Hendricks in front, and then the one that bowls Quentin de Kock is an absolute beauty from around the wicket to the left-hander, cuts back in, ticks the top of off stump just very nicely, and Taskin Ahmed chips in with the wicket too, and 4 for bugger all. Taskin's your favourite.
I was excited about that. I was acting unprofessionally in the press box again when Taskin went through the game.
When he bowled Markram.
I get a bit precious sometimes about people cheering in the press box, except when it's me. That was a huge moment.
When you're in the press box for an Islanders ice hockey game, you'll be unstoppable.
But I mean, look, those 2 moments when Taskin was out and 2 balls later, Stubbs, another one of these ones that he tried to force the pace that wasn't there. And Tanzim was bowling again here, and they are reeling, and that gets taken at cover. I think Shakib was fielding there, and all hell breaks loose. I mean, the stand, it was like it was bouncing, it was pumping, and you feel like they're a chance of running through South Africa. And you're right, I mean, it's not the first time Tanz has bowled well in the tournament. Did a good job against Sri Lanka too a couple of nights ago when they played at Dallas. But along with Mustafiza, comes on to close out the power play, ripping his fingers down the seam, only 1 run from the over. That is a pretty bloody good seam attack.
Yep.
Now, the challenge they've got now is they've lost to South Africa. The good thing is South Africa are going to win the group.
Yeah.
So, yes, it matters. Had they won today, there would have been more jeopardy with other teams. But now at least Bangladesh know that they need to simply win their other games.
More than Sri Lanka win. Yeah,
that's right. Whatever. And Sri Lanka have already dropped a game to South Africa and
Bangladesh.
And they look like a busted. And they've lost the game to Bangladesh. So, things are still trending in the right
direction. The Dutch
direction.
have got to win in that group. They're the other team with any points at all.
This was the result the Dutch needed today. That's the other thing. And, we obviously want to see Holland do well too. But what I was going to come back to was the partnership between Klaassen and Miller. Well, they consolidated really well. So they had 3 consecutive overs after the power play where they got 6 runs, 6 runs, 6 runs, then 14. It was the slow build where they didn't try and find the boundary. Then they really did. Klaassen struck a 6. I think it was off the spin of...
it was the leg spinner.
The leg spinner. Down the ground. And after that, things just opened up a little bit for them. They ended up putting on 79 from as many balls. And interestingly, that's the longest ever T20 international partnership for the 5th wicket. No one's ever faced more than 79 balls together in a T20I in that situation. Like, they dragged it into the 3rd last over or whatever it was. So things did slow down though after the 10th over, Jeff.
Oh yeah.
They only scored 56 in the second 10.
And they're both out before the end.
And they're both out before the end. Mustafiza's 20th over is the stuff you dream of. There's a reason why this bloke has been highly sought after in domestic T20 tournaments around the world. Why he was probably Bangladesh's first proper superstar seamer in T20 cricket. And in tandem with the other bowlers he's operating with, who we mentioned before, does mean that they can't get away. Maharaj in the final over couldn't lay a glove on him.
Yeah, and I mean, there was that tension was able to build up, right? So that Jansen and Maharaj can't do much at the end. Klaassen gets out to Taskin Ahmed, eventually makes 46 at a runner ball, which is handy. Rishad Hussain, the leggy, gets David Miller out. But it's that top 4 for South Africa. They've been struggling against Sri Lanka. The top 4 between them made 49, against the Netherlands 36, and today 22. That top 4 between them. So they keep leaving it up to Klaassen and Miller. It was Miller who did the repair job against the Dutch. They're losing that game without David Miller's performance there, and we've seen him do. Well, he almost did the same thing in the 50 over World Cup. It was Miller, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But against the Dutch as well.
Miller
batting through,
but also against Australia in the World Cup semi-final when they were 5 for 60 or something like that, and he made an unbeaten 100.
So this guy who, at one stage David Miller was all about just enormous sixes over the league side, and now he's become the repair job guy. He's got to come in and be the wolf and clean up the crime scene. And Klaassen's had to bat really sensibly, but he's, aside from in the Dutch game, he's out cheaply, but he did that against Sri Lanka as well, didn't he? Where he was able to help repair an innings. So they've got some issues with their top order, and I suppose it depends how well they can switch things up once they leave here and the conditions here, and if they can adapt to conditions somewhere else.
Yeah, and to get rid of the enormous Miller, it had to be the spin of Rashid Hussain. And look, the guts of him too, to throw it up, that's a high-risk delivery to Miller when he's swinging in the arc and obviously hitting with the spin to the leg side and getting it through his defences. Then it did slow them.
Yep.
It really did slow them. So, 113 felt different to me to India's 119 yesterday. I actually thought Bangladesh would get there, but for the reasons we've already stated, they haven't. And I was gutted. I wanted nothing more, Jeff, than to jump on today and sing Tigerland at the start. I was thinking about it like we did after they beat the Windies in the 2019 World Cup down in Taunton. It was such an exciting day in that World Cup. And look, Bangladesh have never made it out of the group in a T20 World Cup. Never made it to the next stage like the Super 8s that we're referring to here. And this was a huge opportunity to almost make sure of it. So they're going to have to bounce back now, because they'll be licking their wounds. This is not a side that on paper looks especially threatening. And Shakib missed out today. Shakib missed out, and he missed out in the first game as well. He only made 8 against Sri Lanka a couple of nights ago. So there is areas of growth. And they have got a seam attack who can compete on these pitches.
Maybe he just needs to kick the stumps over just once, just to get back
into
the zone.
Contest.
Maybe he needs to brawl with Angelo Matthews.
Get in a fight. Spot fix something, just fucking get up and about.
Can I throw in something about Anrich Nortje through the IPL? His innings figures through the IPL: 1 for 48, none for 43, 3 for 59, 2 for 65. Then he went down to 3 over spells and conceded none for 31 and 1 for 48. So he went for between 10 and 16 runs and over in every game that he played in the IPL and got dropped. The West Indies warm-ups games, none for 47 and then none for 26 off 2, so still going at 13s. And then he comes into this World Cup and goes 4 for 7, 2 for 19 and 2 for 12 today.
Not sure if you listened to Ben Jones in my episode a couple of days ago when he bowled out the Dutch, but he's doing that Mitchell Starc thing that he does in 50 over World Cups, where he is by a mile the greatest T20 World Cup bowler ever.
Right.
He's now taken, it'll be 28 wickets at, what did he take today? 2 for
12.
Okay, it'll improve yet further. It'll be 28 wickets at about 8.5 at an economy rate of about 4.9.
Wow.
All 3 of the numbers in the games he's played, which are 13 World Cup games in this format of the game, puts him as a clubhouse leader. Most wickets, best average, best economy rate, and the 2 balls that he bowled today that picked up wickets were both above 150 kilometres an hour. 2 short balls, and they couldn't keep them down. Both Shanto and then subsequently Shakib Al Hassan got brute deliveries. They just had the parry in the air, both taken by Markram. The 2 catches he took in the infield before the 2 crucial snaffles down on the rope in the final couple of overs. So, Nortje for South Africa, they've got a tortured history in World Cups. But the other thing I'd say, though, is that had to bowl over 16. Like, 3 of his overs were bowled by the end of over 12. He is their gold dust. And how they manage his overs in the elimination stage, in the Super 8s, if they make a semi-final, so much focus will be, a bit like with Rashid Khan in Afghanistan. When does he bowl his 4 overs? How do we deal with it? How do we negotiate it as a batting team? That's increasingly going to be the planning that's required from sides against Nortje, especially when he's got runs to defend.
But it leaves him with Rabada to bowl the 18th. He gets
Great
the
over.
LBW against Hridoy, concedes 2 singles, and that's almost the game at that point. They pushed it out to needing 18 off the last 2, which always seemed likely to be too stiff. We're definitely due for a break, and then we've got Oman, Scotland, and the Hall of Fame.
We do. We've got a bit going on. We'll do it all after the break. The final word, dailies. All the World Cup dailies are brought to you by Westfield London.
You better believe it.
Westfield, Stratford City.
2 Westfields. Twin Towers.
Geez, I like the start of this.
Okay.
Dan Lawrence and John Embury.
Okay.
We're talking
this
about
is in your area.
We're just talking about David Miller.
Yeah.
Dan Christian and John Hastings. Dan Vittori and John Wright.
Okay.
Dan Price and John Twin. That's a little ODB reference.
Okay.
Dan Price and John Twin, both listeners to the show. In Dan's case, a patron. In John's, I don't think he is, although Twinny did take 3 for yesterday.
Okay.
The annals of cricket history are littered with Dans and Johns. Oh, that's what he's doing.
Okay.
And if you want your wardrobe to be littered with stylish outfits, then the only place you need to visit is Dan John.
Dan John.
At Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City.
Frog Stomp.
Frog Stomp. Hell yeah. And don't forget, I think there was Was it at a World Cup game? Silverchair tomorrow was played. No, it was a baseball game. Mate was telling me about. They played at the end. And don't forget, if you buy your old man a £75 Westfield gift card, did you hear about this the other day?
No.
If you buy a 75 quid gift card for Father's Day, they chuck in a Dan John fragrance worth 40 quid for free.
Okay.
So you're buying an even bigger gift for your dad on Father's Day. And if you're not a dad yet, start wearing Dan John clothes, and you might be by sometime next year. Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. Get yourself a new whistle and flute.
Oh, okay. Like Roy and H. style? All right.
Can I have Embry's fruit?
Okay.
Right, where are we? Fruit?
Bag of flute.
Yeah.
Flute bag, right?
Do we want to do Hall of Fame now, then move back to the second game?
I think the second game matters a lot. So I think we've got to do that.
Okay, it's more that like we're kind of talking about this game. Are any of your Hall of Fame moments from the second game?
Not really.
Okay,
no.
that's fine. Crowd.
Okay, fine. All right,
Crowd.
throw it in there.
Crowd?
Yeah.
Fuck, they were good today. That was louder than yesterday.
Okay.
Now, work that out for me.
Okay.
I think that has something to do with the fact that, no, you know what, I'm not going to do a socio-economic breakdown on the Bangladeshi fans who are here, but Jesus Christ, it meant a lot. They were going bonkers when I went up there in the crowd towards the end. They were devastated when they lost, and we always love them at major tournaments. Remember in 2019 with the Tigers, they were playing around with in the crowds and so on. Don't have that today, but it was great.
I found it amusing that they were just playing cranking hard trance at the breaks, like not just throwing in some top 40 stuff like usual, but just full on. You were in the boiler room, a big day out. It's about 2007. Steve O'Keefe, get the glow sticks out, get out in the middle. Wait until night falls and just pump it up, pump the jams.
Off the revs, get in the gutter. I've got one more I'm going to say to the end. Second game, Scotland-Oman yesterday. Okay. The match of the day on Sunday was Scotland and Oman, at least in some circles. Had it been rained out, that was going to be the intro. That was definitely going to be my intro. It was going to be, right, at least got that. Right, so, look, did you watch much of the highlight? Yeah, you've seen. So, will you give me a sense of how you felt about the game, and I'll follow up.
Oh, well, it was simply that going into that game, people were saying, well, yeah, Scotland, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't underestimate. Like, Oman beat Scotland all the time. They play each other a lot. They're a good side, Oman. And they got annihilated. They got pumped in 13 overs, having set 150, which is hard to chase.
And they batted okay,
And they batted pretty well.
41 not out towards the end.
They, they actually put quite a good innings together.
Yep.
So they had the keeper who they brought in, Atavale, who replaced the 41-year-old keeper in the first game. They decided to go for the youth policy after that. They're doing a rebuild, Oman. He makes a 50, but plays really well at times. Akabilias hangs in there, like hits a couple of good shots there. There's a drive over cover from Atavale. There's a hook for 6 over the leg side, and then he brings up his 50 with a drop catch over the rope down the ground, where it was George Munsey who caught it and then fumbled the bag. And there's a missed stumping in there as well, which is Akabilias, I think, who has the stumping miss. So there are bits where Scotland's a bit ropey, and where Oman are going along okay. They're like 81 at the halfway mark. They get past. So this is the crucial point for me, I think, when the stumping's missed. 5 overs to go, 113 for 4. And if they really go big there, they could put on maybe 60 in the last 5 overs, something like that, and push it up. In the end, they get held to a point, even though Ayan Khan bats through 41 not out and hits pretty well at the death, hits some boundaries towards the end. And Mehran Khan, who we saw get taken down by Stoinis the other night, batted pretty well for a few minutes, hit a couple of good straight drives down the ground for 4 as well.
The problem they had was they were losing wickets, so they recorded a negative split. They were 81 for 4, I think, at the halfway mark. They get to 150, but if you're 81 for 4, to apply real scoreboard pressure, it's got to be 160, 170, doesn't it? And they don't, which means Scotland the other way, knowing the situation they found themselves in, having split the difference against England but batted well, and having won their second game against Namibia and won it fairly convincingly. For them, it's all about how much net run rate pressure can they pile onto England's shoulders. And a succession of batters did it. First of all, Michael Jones pulled the trigger off the top, took down Shaquille, the spinner. He eventually miscued for 16, but he got them going in the right direction. Yeah,
he's trying to drive one that wasn't full enough, and he sort of splices it, trying to hit it down the ground.
And then experienced player, like George Munsey now has been around for a while, and like batting with McCullum, they take up the task. They get to 50 for 1 by the end of the power play. They don't slow down in the middle overs. Munsey, sweeping and slapping and pulling and hitting straight, seemingly all on one knee. Every shot he played, the knees kissing the turf, but that's working for him. And then when he's dismissed, McCullum takes over. It's like everyone who came in realised they knew exactly what their job was. It didn't matter how many wickets they lost, so long as they won the game quickly. And that is clever use of net run rate politics or net run rate machinations. It doesn't matter if you're 9 down, so long as you get the job done quickly. There was no fear here. There was no fear when they played England on day one. They've got a game coming up against Australia, which so long as they don't get absolutely pants there and England don't win their last 2 games by a fucking innings, Scotland are going to be in the Super 8s, and that is huge.
Potentially.
That is huge.
I'll tease that out in a second. I do enjoy that, McMullen's, Henry Moran described him as the Brian Lara cricket version of Brendan McCullum. You've got it's Brandon McMullen, where you can't use his real name because of copyright reasons. The Munsey thing I thought was telling. Oman didn't do their homework. They didn't watch, because Namibia bowled really well to George Munsey, who basically can't hit through the offside. He tries to hit everything to leg, and they bowled really wide of the off stump, Namibia, and didn't let him do that.
Me.
Yeah, well, like most of us, I suppose. He's more effective at doing that, but they were bowling too straight to him. He was hitting through leg. He starts picking up balls from outside the off stump and going through leg, and when he eventually tries a big shot through the offside, he slices it to short third and he's out caught. But by that point he's made 41 from 20. He's put the foot down. They're 86 for 2 in the 8th over, so they're going at 10 and over. They're flying along, and then McMullen's able to come through. Geez, he played a good innings, just straight through the line, hit down the ground a lot, 50 in no time at all, 28 balls for his 50. Richie Berrington joined him for a bit, the captain, hit a 4 and a 6, and then got bowled by Aqib Ilyas through the gate. I loved this. So Aqib bowls leg is to the right hander.
Wrong, wasn't it?
He bowled, I think it was an off break.
Oh, it was an offie.
Yeah,
I just assumed it was a wrong in watching the highlights because he bowls leg breaks.
Because he bowls off breaks to the left handers.
Oh,
so he does the old Liam Livingston's, but he does it a bit better than Livingston's doing it at the moment, I think, because he bowled some really good leg breaks to Stoinis, and this time he's like, oh no, I'm just going to try the off spinner to the right hander here, and rips it back through the gate.
I just took it as read that it was a beautiful wrong and watching the highlights, watching the hand close enough.
He lands good off breaks as well. But you may be right. I don't know. Maybe it was my read. Anyway, he does that. Barrington's out, but then Matthew Cross comes out. He slog sweeps a couple of 6s.
Final word favourite. Final word guest.
Hits a couple of 4s. Gets dropped off a 4 as well, I think, or that. Maybe that was McMullen. Anyway, they cruise there in 13.1 overs. So here's where it leaves it. Scotland net run rate, 2.16 positive. England, negative 1.8. Now, those look devastating, but England have only played 1 game that gets counted because they had the washout. So they could turn it around. Basically, England need to win their last 2 games by about 110 runs combined if they were batting first. And that's against Namibia and against Oman. So that's doable. England could do that.
Yeah, it is actually.
Make 180 and bowl them out for 100.
Does that just get them level pegging with Scotland?
That gets them level with Scotland. And if Scotland lose paint to Australia when they play them, then that makes it even easier for England.
Well, let's play that game a little bit. Let's give Australia a 50-run head start on Scotland for the sake of the hypothetical. Well, that means England only need to win by 30 runs apiece if batting first. I mean, it's very rough numbers.
It's an imperfect science, but broadly that. And that doesn't... I don't have the figures if they're chasing and how many overs, but I think England would need to be chasing in something like 12 to 15 overs to make up that sort of.
Take them through, boys. Take them through Australia. Do as Australia tried to do in '99 with the Windies.
Yep.
Bevan and Steve Waugh batting 13 overs for 19 runs. You know it's the right thing to do. Yeah. Take Scotland through with you. 19.3
overs to chase 80. That's what I want to see in the last game.
If it comes to that, if that's what's required, that is, I mean, they'll get in a lot of trouble for it, of course.
It'd be funny.
It'd be funny, and it would be extremely entertaining.
Hey, you're allowed to win a game however you want. Surely you're allowed to win a game in the way that you deem is the safest and most practicable way. We just wanted to take our time, didn't want to take any undue risks.
I also think that it's not wrong, just philosophically. I don't think it's the wrong thing to do either from Australia's perspective, because they could run into England in a final.
Yeah, why not?
Who they would identify as being a
riskier
proposition to win the tournament. Anyway, I think that's what Australia said in 1999. By the way, I should know, I did make a documentary about it.
Were they trying to knock out New Zealand there?
They were, and then New Zealand played Scotland the next day and absolutely destroyed them, and the rest is history. Right, so that's the end of the show. All I want to do is say, being my last show here, my last day here, thank you, Long Island. I've loved being here.
Thank you, Long Island.
It has been so much fun. I know we didn't play the Nassau Coliseum because that's in disrepair. But we did pass UBS Stadium last night on the way back from Queens in our Final Word listener meetup, which was delightful. Join that, become part of that. Thank you to Aaron who drove us back and forth and has become a patron today, Jeff.
Oh.
Yep, he's been on the Discord channel this morning.
Didn't need to do that. He's already done that in taxi fare.
Sure, but I mean, the point is that community continues to grow. It's a beautiful thing. And Long Island's been great. I've loved wearing the New York Islanders cap around, and I'll wear that proudly until the NHL season starts again. Yeah. Thanks to Long Island Mike for that, and for everyone else who's been a great host here at the ground and looked after us more generally.
Roll with cherubim to Nassau Coliseum. Now see this picture where hip-hop meets scripture, develop a negative into a positive picture. Lauren Hill. Anyway, Nassau Coliseum, the place to be, just down the road. Let's get out of here. It's been a daily. It's gone on for long enough. There'll be day 11 tomorrow. I'll be here.
And there'll be a weekly coming out before the next time you hear a daily, because that's how we operate in tournaments like this. It will, I promise.
Who knows? Who knows? We can't see the future.
And on the weekly, Bumble's on it, so you know.
Okay.
That's going to be good. You'll enjoy it.
Okay, that's it. We're out.
Bye.
See you later.